Long ago, before satellites mapped our world, great minds imagined a vast, undiscovered land at the very bottom of the Earth. They called it Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land. For centuries, it was just a myth, a blank space on the map. It was not until 1820 that the first human eyes, those of a Russian explorer, finally witnessed its towering ice cliffs. But seeing this continent was one thing. Setting foot on its interior and reaching the fabled South Pole was another challenge entirely. It was a challenge that would call to the bravest of hearts and, for many, would be the last journey they ever made. The early 20th century became the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, a time of incredible courage and profound tragedy. Men like Captain Robert Falcon Scott and Sir Ernest Shackleton led expeditions into this frozen wilderness, driven by the quest for discovery and national pride. Their stories are etched into the ice itself. We have photographs from those times showing men with faces ravaged by frostbite, their bodies weakened by starvation and exhaustion. They faced conditions so brutal that they were forced to eat their own sled dogs just to survive another day, a desperate measure in a land that offers no mercy. Captain Scott's journey to the South Pole is perhaps the most famous and heartbreaking of all. After a grueling trek that lasted more than a year, battling through unimaginable blizzards and soul-crushing cold, he and his 4 companions finally reached their goal in January 1912. But their triumph turned to despair when they discovered a Norwegian flag already flying there. Roald Amundsen had beaten them. The journey back was a slow, desperate fight for survival against the elements, a fight they ultimately lost. Their story serves as a powerful reminder of just how unforgiving this continent can be. Even for those who survived, like Shackleton, Antarctica was a relentless adversary. His ship, the Endurance, was famously trapped and crushed by the shifting sea ice, leaving his crew stranded for months on the frozen ocean. Their tale of survival is one of history's greatest, a testament to human resilience in the face of impossible odds. These early explorers did not have modern technology or advanced navigation. They had only wooden ships, woolen clothes, and an unshakable determination. Their struggles highlight a simple truth. Antarctica is not a land that welcomes visitors. It is a fortress of ice, fiercely guarding its secrets. To understand why those early explorers suffered so terribly, we must first understand the continent itself. Antarctica is a land of superlatives. It is quite simply the coldest, highest, and driest place on our planet. The temperatures here are difficult to even imagine, capable of dropping to a staggering -90 degrees Celsius. In such cold, exposed skin freezes in seconds and steel can become as brittle as glass. This extreme cold is born from its position at the South Pole, where the sun's rays strike at a very low angle, providing little warmth. And for 6 months of the year, the sun disappears completely during the long polar night. It is also the world's highest continent, with an average elevation of around 2,500 meters, or 8,200 feet above sea level. This is not because of towering mountain ranges of rock, but because the land is buried under a colossal ice sheet. This sheet of ice is, on average, over a mile thick, and in some places it is nearly 3 miles deep. This great altitude makes the air thinner and even colder, adding another layer of difficulty for any living thing attempting to survive there. Breathing becomes more strenuous and the body has to work much harder just to function in the thin, frigid air. Perhaps most surprisingly, Antarctica is classified as a desert. Despite being covered by about 90% of the world's ice, it receives incredibly little precipitation. The air is simply too cold to hold much moisture. The average humidity is less than 1%, making it drier than the Sahara Desert. The small amount of snow that does fall rarely melts. Instead, it builds up over thousands and millions of years, compressing under its own weight to form the dense glacial ice that defines the entire continent. This polar desert environment is utterly hostile to almost all forms of life. This unique combination of cold, height, and dryness creates a landscape unlike any other on Earth. There are no forests, no rivers, and no soil to speak of in the interior. There is only ice, stretching in every direction, a seemingly endless expanse of white. The wind, known as the katabatic wind, pours down from the high polar plateau towards the coast, often reaching hurricane force. It sculpts the snow into sharp, wave-like ridges called sastrugi, which can make travel on foot or by vehicle incredibly difficult and treacherous. It is a world sculpted by forces so powerful they defy human scale. The journey to Antarctica is fraught with danger long before one ever sets foot on the ice. The continent is surrounded by the Southern Ocean, one of the most tempestuous and unpredictable seas in the world. Here, powerful storms can appear with little warning, churning the water into a chaotic maelstrom of giant waves. For ships, the greatest threat comes from the ice itself. Enormous icebergs, some the size of a small country, break away from the coastal glaciers and drift silently through the shipping lanes. A collision with one of these behemoths would spell certain doom for any vessel. Even if a ship successfully navigates the stormy seas and dodges the icebergs, its problems are far from over. The coastline of Antarctica offers almost no safe place to land. Unlike other continents with natural harbors and gentle shores, Antarctica is guarded by sheer ice cliffs that can rise hundreds of feet directly from the sea. In other places, the coast is a chaotic jumble of moving glaciers and treacherous sea ice. There are no ports, no docks, and no welcoming beaches. Captains must carefully search for a rare, temporary opening in the ice, a fleeting opportunity to offload people and supplies onto an unstable and ever-changing surface. For those who venture inland, the dangers only multiply. The weather is the most relentless enemy. Blizzards, known as whiteouts, can reduce visibility to zero in an instant, disorienting even the most experienced explorers. In these conditions, it is impossible to tell the sky from the ground, making it easy to wander off course or stumble into a hidden danger. The wind and extreme cold are a constant threat, capable of causing severe frostbite within minutes and draining life-sustaining heat from the body with terrifying speed. Every moment spent outside is a calculated risk. Beneath the seemingly flat, uniform surface of the snow lies one of Antarctica's most insidious threats: crevasses. These are deep, hidden cracks in the ice sheet, sometimes hundreds of feet deep, often covered by a thin, fragile bridge of snow. An unsuspecting traveler, whether on foot or in a vehicle, can fall through this snow bridge without any warning, plunging into the icy abyss below. Modern expeditions now use advanced ground-penetrating radar to detect these hidden chasms, but for the early explorers, every step was a gamble. It is a land where the very ground beneath your feet cannot be trusted. The defining feature of Antarctica's interior is its profound emptiness. There are no permanent human settlements here. There are no towns, no villages, and no indigenous people who have adapted to call this continent home. This stands in stark contrast to the Arctic, in the north. The Arctic is home to around 4 million people, including indigenous communities like the Inuit, who have thrived in its challenging but comparatively milder environment for thousands of years. In Antarctica, human presence is fleeting and temporary, limited to a handful of scientists and support staff living in isolated research stations. This absence of humanity is mirrored in the animal kingdom. On land, the continent is virtually sterile. You will not find any native land mammals here, no polar bears, no foxes, no hares. The conditions are simply too extreme. The lack of vegetation means there is no food source, and the brutal cold and dry air of the interior are beyond the limits of what even the hardiest animals can endure. The heart of Antarctica is a silent, empty world, a biological desert where the rules of life that govern the rest of our planet do not seem to apply. Life, where it does exist, clings tenaciously to the very edge of the continent. Along the coastline and on the nearby sea ice, a vibrant ecosystem can be found. Here, the frigid but nutrient-rich waters of the Southern Ocean support a huge amount of krill, tiny shrimp-like creatures that form the base of the Antarctic food web. This abundance of food draws in wildlife, but only animals that can live a dual life between the sea and the ice. Seals, such as the Weddell and crab-eater seals, use the ice as a platform for resting and giving birth, but find their food in the ocean. The most iconic residents of Antarctica, the penguins, follow the same pattern. Species like the emperor and Adelie penguins are masterfully adapted to the cold, but they too are completely dependent on the sea for their survival. They form vast colonies near the coast, trekking inland only to breed in specific sheltered locations before returning to the ocean to hunt for fish and krill. They are creatures of the coast, not the continental interior. Their presence highlights a fundamental truth. Life in Antarctica is sustained not by the land but by the sea that surrounds it. Even in our modern age of advanced technology, Antarctica remains largely inaccessible. Standard airplanes are generally not permitted to fly over its vast interior. The extreme cold can cause jet fuel to freeze, And the lack of emergency landing sites on the unstable ice makes such a journey far too risky. Travel is restricted to specialized aircraft equipped with skis that can land on prepared ice runways at the scientific bases. The continent's isolation is therefore not just a matter of geography, but also of logistics and safety, a barrier that keeps all but the most dedicated and well-equipped visitors away. Beneath its thick blanket of ice, Antarctica holds immense natural treasures. A recent report in 2024 suggested that the continent might harbor as much as 511 billion barrels of oil, a reserve potentially larger than any other on Earth. In a world hungry for energy, one might expect a frantic rush to exploit such a discovery. Yet the continent remains untouched. This is because of a remarkable international agreement known as the Antarctic Treaty System. Signed in 1959, this treaty sets the continent aside purely for peace and scientific research. It explicitly prohibits any military activity and, crucially, the 1991 Madrid Protocol bans all mineral and oil exploration. This dedication to science has turned Antarctica into a unique global laboratory. Nations that are geopolitical rivals in other parts of the world work side by side here. However, new developments show a growing strategic interest. China, for instance, opened its fifth research station in early 2024, a state-of-the-art facility that some believe could have dual civilian and military uses. Meanwhile, nations like South Korea are pioneering new technologies, such as autonomous robots that can explore dangerous crevasses, allowing for safer, year-round data collection. These advancements demonstrate a clear drive to overcome the continent's extreme challenges. Despite our growing presence, Antarctica remains a land of profound mystery. It holds the secrets of our planet's ancient climate, locked away in ice cores that are millions of years old. We know it was once a green, forested land, but the story of its transformation is still being pieced together. Unanswered questions continue to fuel our curiosity. What lies in the vast lakes hidden beneath the ice? What other secrets does this continent hold? Even today, reaching the heart of Antarctica is a monumental undertaking. It remains the ultimate frontier on our own planet, a silent, frozen kingdom that guards its mysteries as fiercely as ever.